You're listening to Inside the Circle. Coming up in this week's show.
I didn't know whether to laugh or cry because I was like, she's just insinuating I'm about 14 years old and I was 22. So I got my car keys, shook them around a bit and got my credit card out and just tried to show how old I was.
I could get my pillow out and I could be sleeping and be more enthusiastic than this.
I'd lost my dad. I was with Dad and I was really stressed. And I remember seeing, my dad's got a bald head. So I remember seeing this bald guy and running up to him, hugging him, going, "Dad, thank God I found you." And he turned around and it wasn't my dad.
So off the pitch, he's life and soul of the party. A bit unpredictable, not sure what he's going to come out with and talk about or say. But a great guy with great values and, loves his family to bits as well.
I remember in my first year we were in Bucks final at home at Nottingham playing against Loughborough, and it was just one of those matches which unfortunately we lost, but I will remember forever.
A tiger loaf, tiger bread, yeah, from the bakery, warm.
Hello and welcome to the first ever episode of Great Britain Hockey's brand new podcast, Inside the Circle. We're here to provide you with some much needed hockey discussion, answering all the important questions, such as whether our international athletes would rather have hands for feet or feet for hands. I can think probably one is less practical than the other. My name is War Moulton and I will be your host for this upcoming podcast, but more importantly, I am joined by three of the GB women's hockey team. First of all, we have Shona McCallin, scorer of unbelievable goals on very rare occasions and also a part-time dog walker. Then we have Esme Burge, who shot to internet fame earlier this year for being able to balance more Jaffa oranges on her hockey stick than several of her teammates. And also the very sassy "give it a go at home." Do you remember that one?
Yeah, told you to cut it out, I think.
And finally, we have Amy Costello, who has been described by Giselle Ansley as being one of the mums of the team, despite being just 22 years old. So first of all, welcome to the show, guys, and thank you for taking the time to join us.
Thank you.
That's all right.
So the show, as it is in its first episode, will be split into three sections, the first two being discussion-based, and the final being a fun Q&A, where our athletes will be answering questions sent in by the Pride, some of which we can't broadcast, but most of which we can. So first of all then, I'm going to touch on the domestic hockey season, and that's come to a close. Some more of a natural progression with the fixtures being ended, and also because of COVID-19 bringing some leagues to a halt early. But first of all, Amy, we'll come to you. Your first season, I believe, at East Grinstead Hockey Club, and you ended up finishing second in the table. So how was it playing for the club, and how did you find the season?
Yeah, it was great. Came in and we obviously didn't have the greatest start. I think we lost our first 3 games and we're sitting pretty much rock bottom of the table. And then as the season sort of progressed, we sort of gelled a bit more as a team because we were quite new together. And then, we just sort of got into the flow and we're playing really well together, and it was nice to finish off the season with a good win. I
was going to say that was a 6-1 victory over Surbiton, which is a pretty impressive victory. So I guess it's a shame that you can't build on that confidence, but how much of a boost was that for the team beating Surbiton 6-1?
Yeah, it was. We were coming in sort of, I think, unbeaten in 10 or 11 games, and so we were pretty confident that if we just sort of put what we'd been doing in the last couple of games into practice against them, and we were just really tight as a team, then we could, and then it just sort of showed we played really well together as a team, and then sort of finishing the circle was great. So
there's 3 or 4 of you now, I believe, from the Great Britain team playing at East Grinstead, and how important is that because obviously and this is a question to all 3 of you, but you're all here set 5 days a week training together, but how important is it for you to be playing with as many players as possible at the weekend? I know club systems play different tactics and things like that, but continuing that gelling process.
I think it's important. You get to know exactly how people play, what they want from you, and what they can deliver. And I think it's quite important to just sort of know your teammates and get to know them off the pitch in a more sort of social environment as well. And then on the pitch, I guess with club being slightly more relaxed in some respect in comparison to the environment here, you get to know them a bit better in that sort of environment as well. So that would be my take on it.
Do you find out a little bit more about them, or do you sort of know roughly what they're like because you spend so much time here together?
Yeah, I would say you get to know a bit more about them. But yeah, we spend pretty much every day together here, so we do get to know a lot about each other generally. So.
And then as athletes, when you're spending it every day together here, is that, I know because some of you live together as well, but how important is that bonding time away from the pitch as well as training on it and things like that? Maybe one for you, Esme, given that you live with 3 or 4 of the women's team.
Yeah, I think it's really important, and yeah, to have that relationship off the pitch as well as a support network, and just do things different, so you're not always just playing, and you know your relationship's not just based around having a stick in your hand. And I think also the closer you are off the pitch, the closer you are on the pitch, and the more amazing those moments are on the pitch when you're celebrating with your teammates and people that you genuinely really like. So that helps. So yeah, I think it's really important, and I'm lucky. Well, I live with Izzy Petter, and then Tess and Lizzie are literally just around the corner. So that's really nice that we've got kind of a little community off the pitch. You know, we can do dinners on the week, and we sometimes get Amy and Shaz around as well, and do little, like once a week we go to different people's houses and do meals. So yeah, I think it's really, really important, and it definitely helps with connections on the pitch if you've got them off the pitch.
And I noticed for you, Shona, as well, you spent your time yesterday with some of your teammates. Was it dog walking? How did that come about?
Yes. So I've been doing like borrow my doggy for a while. Started it when I was injured last year as just a way to get out of the house because I had loads of time being injured. And I've just carried it on. Unfortunately now we're not training because of the coronavirus, which obviously means we've got more time on our hands. Yesterday spent the day with Maddie Hinch's dog Willow, Mark Leghorn's dog Dot, and then Matilda, who's another dog that I walk. So we had 3 dogs between the 2 of us, trying to hold 2 coffees at once as well, and it was quite chaotic actually.
Is Willow as much of a diva as Maddie makes her seem?
Well, they do say dogs are like their owners, so sorry, Maddie. Now she is a bit sassy, but she's chilled at the same time.
Okay, so we're going to somehow we've got a long way away from the domestic game. We're going to bring it back to that now. One thing that we noticed this year is that Hockey Pave have been running the Watch Your Ones campaign, trying to get more people to come out and watch their club's first team. Maybe mainly for you again, Amy, because you've played a bit more club than the rest. But did you notice a difference? And also, what can we do to get club players wanting after their game or before their game to come out and watch the highest standard of domestic hockey?
Well, especially at the last game when we were playing Surbiton, I think we had the most amount of supporters that we'd had. I don't know whether that was given there wasn't much sport on to watch, but yeah, we had quite a few people down, and I don't know, maybe like making a bit more of a big deal about it, and yeah, like making like events almost like playing the men's ones games and the women's ones games. If we're both playing, let's say Hampstead, Westminster, then we play the women and then the men play after us, and making sort of more like fixtures sort of marry up together, so there's more supporters for the men and the women at the same time, gets more people down. That would probably be one of the main things.
And then a question for you, Esme, because obviously being based at the University of Nottingham, you haven't been able to play Bucks this year, but you have played Bucks before. What are the crowds and attendances like for your sort of biggest fixtures in the Bucks leagues?
I don't think you can really replicate it anywhere else apart from Bucks. You know, it's an environment which, the support is amazing from uni players. It's definitely a different kind of support. It's a bit more rowdy, but you know, you've got to. I quite like it. Kind of gets me riled up. But I remember in my first year we were in Bucks final at home at Nottingham playing against Loughborough, and it was just one of those matches which unfortunately we lost, but I will remember forever. Like, there was so many supporters there from all different universities. Like, the whole of Nottingham University were pretty much there, you know, giving us so much support, and it just changes the atmosphere so much. And I think for young players, it really is a massive thing, and playing in front of a crowd when you've not experienced that before, it's great experience for what's to come. And it's definitely different.
Is that something you'd like to see at the international games? There may be more students and a bit more of a rowdy atmosphere, and how can we encourage them to want to come down to our games?
I think, yeah, that would be great. And speaking to a lot of my uni friends, when I first got my caps in the Pro League, they were like, oh, like, can we come down? Can we come down? And people are so keen, like maybe doing student deals or something like that, because people will come down in the masses. If a few people come from a university team, you know, they'll get everyone down. And I do think it really changes the atmosphere. They definitely bring the noise. So, yeah, I think it would be really good to kind of make that a target to get more supporters, because people are definitely winning.
And is that something you thrive off as players, having people that you know in the crowd are cheering you on? Because I remember there was a Pro League game earlier this year, and we had a good contingent, I think, from the University of Nottingham in, and some of our men's players were getting sort of a lot of like friendly stick from them, but they were saying how actually that made them want to play better and things like that. So is having those sort of friendly faces there but a bit more rowdy something that you guys would want to have?
I don't know how you guys feel, but yeah, like, I think it's always nice to, you know, hear people in the crowd that you know, even if it is a bit of chat, but that doesn't bother me too much. Yeah, just, you know, you hear voices that you know, and see faces when you're singing the national anthem or something like that. It makes it really special, and I think it does make a big difference.
Sticking with the domestic theme then, and going on a slightly different tangent, but it's been a very different season for you, Shona, taking charge of Maidenhead Ladies 1s and 2s, is that correct?
That's correct, with Phil Roper.
How's that been?
Yeah, it's been a learning curve, certainly. The idea kind of came about, missed a lot of hockey through injuries over the last few years, and kind of missed that competitive edge at weekends, but felt that adding an extra 2 hockey sessions a week probably wasn't best in terms of managing my injuries and getting back into the GB programme. So the opportunity came about to do it with Phil, and yeah, it's been great. I've learned a lot in terms of coaching, managing people, managing adults. It's the first experience of that. Big or newfound respect for coaches, so Mark, Revs and Ralphie. I think I had a conversation with Ralphie quite early doors saying, okay, I know now a little bit how it feels to coach. You do stand on the sidelines sometimes feeling a little bit helpless, and that's what he kind of said to me. But it's been great. The girls have been great, both teams. The ones have done, well, it started off a bit like EG actually. I think we lost didn't get any points until mid-November, so sitting rock bottom, and now we're just off the top 4, so done really well. 2s have had a mixed season, but it's been good to learn both individually as a coach and also to kind of share ideas with Phil. So it's been a really good season.
Is that something then you guys as athletes find that the more sort of media or the more athlete appearances you do, the like going into schools and coaching and actually coaching at clubs, that you find that you do have a newfound respect for coaches? And does it change your approach to how you train and how you interact with your coaches when you're here? Or
so I've done quite a lot of coaching, and I've only kind of appreciated it this year when I've had a consistent coaching commitment every week. So it's every Wednesday, every Saturday. So usually you go in and you maybe do a one-off session, or you do a 3-hour session with 3 different groups, and you might not see them again. So in that sense, you understand perhaps how supply teachers feel or teachers feel, because it's often in schools managing kids. But this is definitely, made me understand coaching a lot more, like regular coaching, and understand how coaches work and how difficult it is. It's not just teaching them hockey, it's managing the squad as a whole, it's managing people, it's managing expectations, it's communication, it's tactical, it's technical stuff, and to try and fit as much as you want to do in an hour 15 once a week is challenging.
And I'm going to ask this question knowing that all 3 of you are a long way off this prospect yet, but once playing hockey is finished, is coaching something that any of you would like to do? Have you considered at all?
I never considered it. I was like, no, not doing my coaching badges, don't want to do it. And then this year has been fun, but I don't see myself doing it full time. I can certainly see myself doing it alongside something else. But as a full-time coach, not at the moment. I wouldn't have thought, just because the winters scare me. Being outside in the cold all the time.
Still.
Maybe I'll be a full-time summer coach.
Summer league.
Yeah, summer league coach. I'm available.
How about yourselves, Amy and Esme?
Personally, well, I've only really had experience of coaching sort of camps and things in the summer, which is great fun. But I've not had the sort of experience of coaching like Shona has in terms of coaching adults and teams and sort of a regular coaching commitment. Not sure it would be something for me, and I do enjoy it. But yeah, I think I'll stick to sports science. Get my degree first.
Yeah, I think I'm kind of the same as Amy. I enjoy doing one-off camps. Really like kids. And really like enjoy being around them and stuff. But yeah, I don't know if I could do it full time. But who knows? Things can change, and yeah, focus on getting a degree.
Perhaps in 20 years we'll come back and re-listen to this and see where you all are.
When I'm a head coach or something, I'll be like,
So we've come to the end of the first part of our brand new podcast. Stick around though, because we'll be back with much more very shortly.
Hi, Amy Costello here. You're listening to Inside the Circle. Make sure you subscribe.
Welcome back to Inside the Circle. Now, initially the plan was to use this second segment to talk about the Olympics and how the women's team are preparing for it. However, following the postponement of Tokyo 2020 due to COVID-19 and the Games now is being set to take place in 2021, we will take a slightly different stance. First and foremost though, we would like to say that we hope everyone listening is managing to stay safe and well, and we extend our well wishes to you all during this difficult time. Of course, the health and safety of everyone far outweighs everything else in life at the moment, and that includes sport, and GB Hockey understands and respects the decision to postpone the Games. However, there is still the opportunity to reflect on the past year or so for the women's team, so my first question to you all is, I guess, where do you think the squad is now in comparison to, say, January 2019 when Mark first took over, and what have been the biggest changes?
Amy, over to you.
Yeah, I think it was challenging, obviously, sort of the end of 2018, and then sort of with Mark coming in, we were all sort of a bit like unsure of what was kind of going on and things, and it sort of showed at the start of Pro League the results weren't necessarily going our way, and it took us a bit of time to sort of find our feet again, with a bit more structure and with a dead set head coach and things. And I think we can appreciate it was probably challenging for Mark as well, coming in and changing a lot, and then the results not also going our way. But I think having sort of been tested with the pressure of games has probably sped up our learning, because we've been challenged in match. We didn't have the time to practice it back at base and like make the mistakes. So I think that sort of forwarded our learning, and then I think that showed sort of through the Olympic qualifiers and then the results that the girls had out in New Zealand and Australia, just how far that we've come in that year. So yeah, I think we're at the moment in a pretty good place in that respect.
What is Mark like as a coach to work with? Because we don't necessarily on our channel show the side of his personality, but he's quite a character. He's quite entertaining. So, but what's he like as a coach? Does he sort of bring that quirkiness and the fun side to the coaching, or is he a bit more serious and then he saves that for when we're in a bit more of a social setting?
Yeah, I think the word character describes him quite nicely. Off the pitch and on the pitch is different, and then how it should be. You know, it's professional and then possibly a bit more relaxed. So off the pitch, he's life and soul of the party. A bit unpredictable. Not sure what he's going to come out with and talk about or say. But a great guy with great values, and loves his family to bits as well. And then coaching wise, yeah, the three of them, so we've got Paul Revington, David Ralph and him, they all work together really nicely. I think they all bring a different combination of energies and skills and coaching methods. But Mark loves his goal scoring, as you'd expect from someone who's scored millions of goals for Australia, and likes to remind us all how many he's scored.
Loves a demo.
Loves a demo. Yeah, loves a demo. And what's he say? Tomahawk all the time. And I was like, what are you talking about?
We've had to do some translations.
Yeah, a couple translations.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's a good attacking, goal scoring focused coach with Revs and Ralphie helping him with the defensive stuff and everything else.
It does seem to have made a difference as well, because we don't necessarily have one goal scorer who scores loads of goals, but it seems like everyone in the team is capable of scoring goals at the moment. You, of course, scored your first ever Great Britain goal against New Zealand. Is that something that you think that actually makes Great Britain's women now like really strong outlet, because everyone can score?
Yeah, I definitely think it's really important, and we've got threats all over the pitch now. So if teams are scouting us, they're not going to be like, oh, here's the target person who's probably going to score the goals. We've got numerous players who've got a real good eye for goal, and I think it makes everyone a lot more confident as well. And we're bouncing off each other, and people are at training, and it just gives a general confidence that when we get in that circle, we've got so many people that can put the ball in the back of the net, no matter if it's scrappy or a wonder goal like Shona's. There's people all over the pitch, from the back all the way to the forward line. And yeah, I think it's kind of like that confidence is building, and it's a bit of a snowball effect with goal scoring. And hopefully we can peak at just the right time.
And that is obviously the whole point of the Olympic cycle is for peaking at those really crucial times, and the upcoming Olympic Games, if they're still going ahead, is the crucial time. But it feels that there are some similarities between the current squad now and the squad before Rio, in terms of obviously different characteristics, different players, but almost going in as the underdogs, and then hopefully going to peak at Rio and peaked at Rio and hopefully going to peak at Tokyo. Is that something you sort of see within yourselves, and is that underdog status something you thrive on, or is that something you don't particularly think about?
On a personal level, I've not really thought about it. I think the similarities are there a little bit in the sense that leading up to Rio, we probably had a stuttery first couple years in the cycle, and then got going at the back end of the cycle. And I guess you could say that's similar to this cycle. It's a real big shame that we've had to press pause on the hockey season, and rightly so. But after kind of qualifying for the Olympics at the back end of last year, going through that training phase and hitting the ground running. That was it. Hitting the ground running in Australia and New Zealand, and picking up some good results and performances there. It felt like we were really kind of getting going. And that's linked back to Amy's point. It's a bit more settled now. Mark's come in, and it's been a year since he's in. So hopefully, when the world has calmed down a little bit and things have settled, and once we're allowed to play sport again and get outside, and life returns to normal, that we can just carry on, and it won't drop off, and that's our responsibility as athletes at the moment. We don't have central training, but we can still do all our training independently, and get outside and do our runnings and things like that. So yeah, time will tell, of course, but that's the aim, to kind of carry on from where we left off.
So is that something that then you guys aren't particularly too worried about, because you have contingencies and you have planned for eventualities like this? Or is there still a thing of a little bit of limbo and a little bit of uncertainty, just given that we don't really know what's going on at the moment?
I think there definitely is a bit of a feeling of uncertainty, because we plan for a lot of events, but this kind of a worldwide virus isn't something that we really plan for. But yeah, we're all staying connected as a squad online, and we're just saying, gotta just take it day by day, control what we can control, put in the hard yards. No one can stop us running and getting fitter physically. And yeah, just trying to stay as connected as possible. And just take it day by day. There's nothing that we can do about it, and we've just got to ride it out and make the best out of a bad situation. Keep everyone as healthy as possible. That's the most important thing.
We're throwing it back to the start of this conversation. You mentioned that Mark Hager has got quite a quirky personality, but I don't know if this is something that people who watch our games pick up on, but Paul Revington's voice when it's on the side of the pitch, like.
Hup.
But it's
Is
also
that what you hear?
how long does it take you to get used to that? Because I mean, I've been here for 2.5 years, and I'm still getting used to listening to him and bellowing you at the side of the pitch. He's got such a distinctive voice. But is that just something that sort of once you've heard it a few times, you get used to, or does it still make you chuckle every now and again?
I think we have some laughs, don't we? Some of the stuff he comes out with, there's been some funny one-liners sometimes.
Any that are appropriate for a podcast, or?
I think
I'm thinking of isn't.
Yeah.
One of the ones, I think we were doing like a small-sided game or something, and I don't know, it wasn't very good. And he was like, "Oh, I could get my pillow out and I could be sleeping and be more enthusiastic than this," and stuff like that. But that was quite amusing. Yeah.
He definitely burns the calories on the pitch with the amount he's running around, and he told us the other day that people question why I stay so thin because I've got such a bad diet and I eat all this rubbish, and that's because I'm screaming and shouting. And we were like, we know you're screaming and shouting. But yeah, it is great, and his enthusiasm is just absolutely amazing. And I think it's a nice balance. We've got him, and then we've got Ralphie, who's a lot calmer, but when he needs to, he will send a message out and it will be really strong. So there's definitely a nice balance between the coaches, but Revs is definitely, he's, yes.
And if you're listening, Revs, they said that, not me. So that brings us to the end of our second part of Inside the Circle. We'll be back for a fun Q&A answering your questions very soon.
Hi, Esme Burge here. You're listening to Inside the Circle. Make sure you subscribe.
Welcome back to the final segment of the first ever Inside the Circle podcast. And now it's time to really get to know our athletes as we ask them the questions you wanted to know the answer to. First of all then, outside of hockey, who is your sporting idol? And that's for all three of you.
We get this question a lot when you do interviews, and I still don't really have an answer, and I should do. This is a loose link. My gran used to play hockey, so she's sporting.
Yeah, no, I'll take that.
And she's outside of hockey. Yeah, I love her to bits. So my gran, Eva, if you're listening, you won't be, but favourite grandchild.
Amy?
Chris Hoy probably, because he's from like Edinburgh and went to school sort of around by me. So yeah, Chris Hoy.
I'm probably gonna say Owen Farrell, just because I've grown up with rugby, and I think the way that he leads on the pitch and plays, and then also has the ability to focus, go from that to then focus on his kicks and that kind of thing. Just like his persona and his leadership skills. I think he's a good idol. But I wouldn't say I have like one. There's so many people that have influenced me. But he'd be one of them for sure.
Would you rather score 10 tap-ins or 1 worldie?
Depends which games.
Yeah.
Probably 10
tap-ins.
10 tap-ins during the Olympics.
Yeah.
Top goal scorer.
Yeah.
Back post. I think also you might say, it's just a tap-in, but actually some of the tap-in goals are the best team goals. So like when you've scored at the end of a series of play where there's just someone who puts it in the goal in the back of the net at the end, those like team goals are really special, whereas the wonder goals are obviously like amazing just for yourself.
You can technically count yours as a tap-in.
Yeah.
One touch tap-in.
Who lifts the heaviest in the gym?
Amy Tennant.
I wasn't expecting that answer.
I know.
Sabby.
Yeah, goalies.
Goalies.
Just lift heavy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maddie's pretty strong.
Maddie's
but then I back you up there. You and Jiz for outfielders.
I was going to say, surely Grace must be in there as well.
Yeah,
Grace is
Grace.
in there.
I would still say the goalies.
Yeah, I would say
Yeah.
goalies.
Yeah, goalies.
And who tries to avoid the gym at all costs?
Mm.
Is that a question you're willing to answer?
Leah.
Yeah.
I don't think Lil particularly enjoys the gym either, does she? Lil just wants to run all the time.
Who did you score your first international goal against? And this can be junior or senior, it's your choice. And how did it feel to score that goal?
Personally, I haven't scored a goal for seniors yet. And I'm trying to think what my actual first goal is at juniors, which I can't actually put my finger on. But one of the most memorable ones, and one of the, like, quite early on, was scoring a stroke against Holland, and at under 16s. And considering, you know, we lose quite a lot to Holland at the junior age groups, well, during my time we did anyway. It was 1-0 to them at the time, and brought it to 1-1. I think we finished the game losing 3-1 or something. But that's definitely a memorable moment, and yeah, really special, especially to score against Holland.
My first goal for Scotland was a bit of an anticlimax. I think we were losing 4-0 against Chile, and it was on the last corner of the game, and it went 4-1. So that was great. But for GB, it was against Japan at Champions Trophy in China, and we were drawing 1-1. We'd had a bit of a bumpy tournament. I think we hadn't won a game yet, and then scored a straight strike to go 2-1 up, and then final score was 2-1. So yeah, it was a pretty special moment, and my first sort of major tournament with GB as well. So
my first international goal was for England against China in the Champions Trophy in Mendoza, which was my first tournament back in 2014, and it was a attack that, well, we had a possession in our bottom right hand corner, and basically we just worked it all the way up the pitch. Really nice team goal, and I was just on the end of it, basically.
One of those tap-ins.
Yeah, one of those tap-ins that we were talking about. I think we won that game 2-0, so that was nice. I think, I'm not sure. I'm gonna say we won.
This was a good question that came in. What is your favourite type of bread?
Oh, I love a sourdough, personally. Don't know about you.
Garlic
guys.
bread, does that count?
with mozzarella.
Naan bread.
They have bread in the name.
Pizza
surely
bread.
They must count.
A tiger loaf. Tiger bread. Yeah. From the bakery, warm.
Amy wins that one. Would you rather have hands for feet or feet for hands?
Hands for feet, surely.
Hands for feet.
Yeah, hands for feet.
Any reason why, or just?
Well, you can't really do much with feet for hands, can you? Like, you
Probably couldn't play hockey, could you?
Yeah,
no, you couldn't really do anything.
No, you can't. You wouldn't be able to like brush your teeth or anything like that very easily. You can't like hold things with your feet. Well, some weird people can.
Brushing your teeth with your feet, then please do. One that came in from the University of Nottingham Sports Instagram account. What is it like being a dual career student athlete? And that's probably the case for Esme and Amy.
Yeah. It's definitely challenging. You know, organisation is key. I'd say I'm overly organised, but that's just kind of how I work. But it's definitely manageable, and there's a lot of support around to help. Both from the uni have been amazing for me in supporting me. You know, online learning, remote learning, they've been so great. Exams wise, you know, it's not easy, but we found ways around it. And actually, I really enjoyed the mental switch off from hockey to be able to go back and get some of my course done, which I'm really interested in, which is psychology. So yeah, it's definitely challenging, but you know, the support at Bisham's being amazing with the lifestyle support here. So yeah, it's going to take a while. I mean, I don't know how long your degree's taking, but I was lucky that I got 2 years done before I joined the program. So I'm working through my third year now. But yeah, I really enjoy it, and the support is great from both sides. So yeah.
Yeah, I would agree. It's challenging, especially when exam time sort of comes around, sort of May, June. That kind of tends to be the time when the international season sort of hits its peak and it's more sort of the pressure's on a bit more, so it's challenging with revision and things at that time. But yeah, there's sort of people around who are more than happy to help, and yeah, you just have to be really forward planning with everything. And yeah, 6 years at uni is not too bad. 6 years I shouldn't discount.
Yeah, that's that definite plus there.
Yeah.
If you could only have one person from the squad in charge of music for the rest of the year, who would you want that person to be?
Not Tess. I know, actually.
She
No, I take
picks
that
for
back.
the audience.
Yeah, I take that back.
She definitely has a range of.
Yeah.
Hannah's quite good.
Yeah, Han. She tends to be on speaker duty when we're
Yeah,
away.
people on speaker duty are Han and Tess, so maybe one of those two.
On a similar note then, who is the worst dancer in the squad?
God, Tess is getting a battering, but
Yeah.
yeah,
She's very enthusiastic.
And she
yeah,
likes
enthusiastic's a
to-
good word.
To kind of play hockey while dancing as well, like
Yeah,
visualizing.
Yeah,
It's very funny. She's just so
Yeah.
great.
yeah. She's not afraid to
Express
express
herself
her personality.
Gotta give her a wide berth
through
you know.
dance.
Yeah.
Like, give her some space.
Who would you want to play you in a film about your life?
I'm gonna go with Cameron Diaz. She's a good actress. Still looking good, age 50, whatever.
Yeah, that's true. I'd go with. Is it Lily? The girl.
Lily Owsley?
That would be something.
The one out of Mamma Mia 2.
Lily James?
Yes, her. I quite like her. Should probably know her name, but.
Just pick someone with brown hair. Anne Hathaway.
Oh yeah. To be fair,
Yeah, nice.
see the similarities.
Three good choices there. Last two questions. Pineapple on pizza, first of all.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. And final question. Thank you to whoever sent this one in. What's been your most embarrassing moment? And this can be inside or outside of hockey. It's up to you. Whatever you're willing to share.
Oh, I was buying like paracetamol or something from the supermarket, and I had to like show my ID because you know they have to, if you're under 25 you have to show your ID, blah blah blah. So the person had come over in the self checkout, scanned their card, and then I just left with my shopping, and I actually hadn't paid, and I was sat in my car with my engine on about to pull away, and the man like came running out into the car park, knocked on the window and was like, "You've not paid for your whole shopping," and bearing in mind it was like a big shop. I was like, I had to go back in, and then there was a big queue behind. That was quite embarrassing.
You've just reminded me, mine was quite similar. Jo Hunter will know what I'm about to say because she likes to use this story and embarrass me a lot. It must have been about 5-6 years ago. So I would have been, 22, 23, and I was doing my weekly shop in, I don't know, Sainsbury's or something, and got to the checkout. And I remember I'd just come back from training, so I was like looking as though I'd trained, so it's not my best. Hair up, hair everywhere. And I got to checkout and checked it all through, and the woman behind the checkout desk was like staring at me, and I was like, oh no, like what's she about to say? And then she goes to me, she goes, "Where's your mum?" And I looked at her and I was like, well, she's at home in Nottinghamshire. So I was like, oh, she's just at home. Like, it's a bit weird. She's about 2.5 hours drive away. Oh, she's just at home. And then I looked at her again. She goes, "Oh, well, you're such a good girl doing the shopping for your mum, aren't you?" And I was like, I didn't know whether to laugh or cry, because I was like, she's just insinuating I'm about 14 years old and I was 22. So I like got my car keys, like shook them around a bit, and like got my credit card out and just tried to like show how old I was. That I wasn't like 14 years old, because I think I was about 22 or 23.
Was there anything in particular in the shopping that would have made her think? You were
No,
buying
it
for
was
your
like
mum?
a general like weekly shop. So I guess mums do a weekly shop, but so do people aged 22 who live on their own. Like, so that was a bit weird.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And yourself, any embarrassing shopping stories for you?
Mine, it's actually reminded me of something from when I was really young in a supermarket. I remember I must have been like 10 or something, like really quite young. And I'd lost my dad. I was with dad and I was really stressed. And I remember seeing, my dad's got a bald head. So I remember seeing this bald guy and running up to him, hugging him, going, Dad, thank God I found you. And he turned around and it wasn't my dad. And I just remember it being just like the most awful moment, being like, I'm so sorry. But yeah, that again, there's a theme of shopping.
Yeah.
I can't really
The
think of
supermarkets
it.
are a stressful environment.
Yeah, it really
Never let a GB hockey athlete in a supermarket, I think is the moral of that story.
No.
We'll finish on that question, I think. Thank you guys for joining us and being fantastic guests. You can download Inside the Circle, the podcast, from most, if not all, of your usual podcast providers, or you can also watch this episode on GB Hockey's YouTube channel. Thank you again for listening, and we look forward to bringing you the second episode very soon.
Thank you.
Bye.
Subscribe to Inside the Circle, the podcast, now, and make sure you never miss an episode.